Carp fishing is a hugely popular sport in South Africa, and recently the best anglers in the country got together for the South African Open Carp Championships.
I'm the secretary of SASAC, the South African Sport Anglers and Casting Confederation, and we're here at the SA Open Carp Championships of South Africa. The teams are competing for the 72-hour championships.
Fishing, or angling as it's sometimes known, is most often a singular pursuit, with little by way of competition other than between the angler and the fish. But at Bloemhof Dam, the lines of competition were very clearly drawn.
We are at Bloemhof Dam in the Bamboo Spruit Reserve area, which is a pristine competition area for carp fishing, purely because of the quality of the fish and the quantity of carp that can be caught here. Traditionally, over many years, this venue has been the selected venue for carp fishing championships because of the quality of the fish. We tend to catch an average of 2.3 to 3.2 kilogram of carp per average on a total bag, and that's why we like to come to this venue. It's safe for us to fish here, and it can also host quite a lot of anglers at a time. Up to 45 pairs can fish here in a competition. So it's a vast stretch of water, about 3.2 kilometers of bank space that we utilize for these championships.
Competitive angling is big business and takes anglers many years to perfect, and even then, they're still at the mercy of Mother Nature. So what is the essence of the Carp Fishing Championships?
The Carp Fishing Championships consist out of teams competing against one another. The guys are fishing in pairs and they camping at the way or the side of the dam, as you can see here at the background. The pair needs to fish for 72 hours non-stop, fishing as much carp as they can. They may only weigh in carp, weighing above 1.5 kilograms, and the total weight of the fish are combined to give you then a total weight system. The team is divided into 3 pairs normally, and the total gets combined together to make a team total in terms of points and accumulated weight total.
There are many thousands of recreational carp anglers in this country who spend long days and some nights next to dams trying to hook a big carp, all in the name of relaxation. This, though, is very different, as there is a competitive element to it. So, how did it all evolve?
The SA Carp Open is a championship that was organized for the national federation team to fish against sponsored teams or provincial teams that would like to compete against them in a social event where there's a trophy and medals to be won. And this event is a training exercise for our federation teams to prepare them for participation on international level. So our teams get selected, 4 pairs of them fish in this specific competition against the sponsored teams to give them all of the guys the necessary exposure under competition circumstances so that they can train how to compete on the higher level of participation.
Many of the anglers in attendance had been casting their lines for much of their lifetimes. But how many South African Opens had they competed in?
It's my 3rd competition. 2nd SA Open and 1 SA Championships before.
Catching and landing a carp takes great skill and patience. The former is something the anglers have learned over the years. The latter is something that gets tested in a competition environment. Loki Lois gives us his view on the day.
Cold, very, very cold. As you know, it's a winter tournament, end of winter, August, and Bloemhof it's really cold. But fishing-wise, I'm well surprised. We're catching a couple of nice fish. Bigger fish, not as many as we do in summer, but we're catching some quality fish and basically fishing 2 different distances. One shallow, 55 meters, and then 100 meters deep rod. But the quality fish is coming out deep, catching some nice big ones deep, and then the shallow rod we're putting the totals on the board. Currently I think we're overall first on the bank, so we must just keep it there.
Loki had teamed up with Robert Kotze and they were indeed doing very well. To the untrained eye, the competition looks pretty simple. However, there are rules and regulations in place to ensure that the event takes place in a fair and equitable way.
In the carp fishing discipline, the guys may only catch carp that weighs above 1.5 kilograms. They need to catch as many as they can over the 72-hour period, and the weigh-in process is approximately every 2 hours taking place, where the team then needs to bring the fish out of the water, and then it gets weighed in. The fish, as they get caught, gets placed into carp sacks, which is a material bag, and the fish then hang in the water, relaxed and calm until they come for the weigh-in process. As they get weighed individually, the fish gets released unharmed to be caught again another day.
There are so many variables associated with competition carp fishing. Weather and water conditions are perhaps the most talked about amongst the competitors.
Fishing's been tough, cold conditions. We're trying to figure out what the feeding pattern is. But I think we needed to feed some more. We fed too little.
The biggest advantage anglers can have over their opponents is to know where to drop their lines. Where will the fish be? Again, there is something of a science and technology answer to finding the best spot.
Before the anglers start to fish, they need to assess the angling area in front of them. So they use this device to utilize to assess the bottom, the nature of the bottom, and the depth of the water. By doing that, they can assess what is the nature of the bottom, whether it's gravel or grass or sandy or muddy area, and also the float gives them the opportunity to determine what is the exact depth at the different distances. So they could cast the float out, let it sit on the bottom and give it line, feed it line, and then they can measure it to be 5 or 10 or 11 feet depending on the measurement. And then also with the lead system that they drag on the bottom, they can then feel what is the nature of the bottom, whether it's gravel, grass or muddy areas which they would rather prevent from fishing in, or those little small stones or big pebbles depending on the area that's in front of them. So by assessing the whole block that they're allowed to fish in, they can determine where they want to put their feed down and cast their hook baits to try and catch a carp. So this is a float going up. As you give it line, it would take line, and the weight system, as you would drag it on the bottom, you would feel the nature of the bottom as it gets dragged along the bottom.
The beauty of any form of sport is that every competitor must handle the conditions in a way they believe will give them the very best chance of winning. But everyone has an Achilles heel.
The moss in the water, that is giving us grief, and the small little branches that stick out, getting caught up a lot of our fish. I say we lost at least 50% of what we hooked up because of this grass.
The competition is over 72 grueling hours and is split into day and night sessions, and those nighttime sessions present their own set of challenges. So what are the plans for the evening session?
Evening, we're planning another feeding session. We need to get feed into the water for the evening, and hopefully by about 8-9 o'clock they should start up.
Once the sun starts dipping, the whole venue takes on an entirely different feel. The teams prepare their bait for the night session. Anglers must be well organised and have everything they require within easy visible reach. There is a strong element of teamwork as they assist each other in baiting the hooks. Wrapped up warmly to combat the evening cold, they get down to business. And as so often is the case, sound becomes amplified under the cloak of darkness. Each angler trying to find the best spot, difficult in broad daylight, a lot tougher when the light fades. Conditions were very still. Fitness also comes into play as the anglers needed to be alert and aware for many hours. till another carp was caught. Extra care is taken to bring the fish in, as the anglers do not want to lose it at the last moment or cause any further stress to the fish. And soon the sun was rising over the eastern bank of the dam. Carp angling conditions can vary dramatically from province to province. So what were the challenges faced by the anglers from the Eastern Cape, like Jason Prinsloo?
It's a bit of a challenge for us, to be honest, because we don't come from we don't get these temperatures where we come from. So, the nighttime fishing becomes quite a challenge. And the feeding patterns and that we're used to for summertime becomes quite a challenge in terms of how much to feed, how much not to feed, when to do it. So, for the first few hours we really battled with that, and but it's come right and we came charging back, which is quite a nice thing.
Fishermen the world over will tell you their secret to success is what they use as bait or feed to entice the fish to bite. So what do these carp anglers use for their bait?
An important part of carp fishing is the feed that you use to attract the fish. The anglers prepare their baits, which consist mainly of cooked corn, hemp seed, tiger nuts, peanuts, that they combined into a mixture and that they use as a bait attractant. They compress it into balls, and they cast that into the water at the preferred distance and depth. By putting those ground bait down there, they attract the carp into the area, and then they start catching the carp as they come into those schools, as they want to come and feed on those nice and flavored maize and tiger nuts, which the carp enjoy because of the protein that's in the bait. So they need to feed it accurately. They cast the balls out at their markers to create a feeding area, and then eventually create a feeding frenzy with the fish coming in, feeding hard on those feed, and then they pick off the fish with their hook baits one by one as they come in to feed.
Once first light had broken and the sun was warming the day, they had another full day of fishing to look forward to. So what were their expectations?
We fed enough this morning, so it should take off now.
In most sports, the safety of the players, competitors and sometimes spectators is paramount. However, in carp fishing, the safety of the fish is very much an issue, and the anglers are well aware of it. So what precautions do they take to prevent the fish getting lumbered with a lead sinker as excess baggage should the line snag or break whilst they've been hooked?
The rig setup of the guys, which they are using, is called a safety rig, and the reason for this is as soon as the fish breaks the line because of a snag or something, the lead system must be able to attach or get loose from the trace. So what the guys do, they clip the trace onto the clip-on swivel. They slide the rubber over to cover it from getting untangled, and it's set up. So if the line should break anywhere upwards, this can slide off, and the fish can only sit with the small piece hooked in his mouth until the hook rusts off and it gets freed, and the lead is automatically then dropped. The fish cannot be hampered or damaged or die because of the lead that's stuck on his mouth.
So what were the key areas to focus on for the anglers during the competition on the Bloemhof Dam?
During the carp fishing competition, it's important for these anglers to focus on good quality fish. So the fish that they are targeting at the moment are between 2 kilos and 4.5 to 5 kilos. That's the specific size that they would like to catch. On average, they like to be in the vicinity of 3 to 3.5 kilos fish, because then you get quantity and quality of fish to get as many fish as you can, increasing the total bag size that you catch.
In any high level of competition, often the difference between winning and losing is planning and strategy. So what was the plan for Imran Abrams and Jason Prinsloo?
So our team game plan was not to feed it initially and try and catch as many loose fish as possible, where a lot of the other teams fed quite a lot. We practiced 2 weeks ago, and well, Imran and I fed a lot, and we never had any success. So we changed our game plan, and then the second morning we fed substantially and started picking up the fish. So from that aspect, we also fed deeper. And got quality fish out the back.
Robert Kotzer and Loki Lois were angling in Zone A. The sport requires great patience and precision. Once the hook had been baited, it needed to be attached to the line. Robert taking great care to get that right. Loki then dips it into a tub of mayonnaise and heads to the water's edge to cast. Again, skill, precision and technique vitally important here. Line in the water, Loki sets the rods in the stands. And not long afterwards, it's bringing in a good-sized carp. Arguably the most important part of the competition is the weigh-in process. As one would expect, precision, exactness and caution are the foundations of a good and fair competition. So how does it work?
During the weigh-in process, the fish gets collected by the anglers from the weigh station. They bring it in, 2 fish at a time. They place it onto the safe landing mat, take it out of the carp sack into the weighing sling, and it gets weighed onto the scale. And then immediately after the weighing process, the fish get released into the water without landing on the ground or gets damaged. Carefully being handled and replaced into the water so that it doesn't get any damage on it.
And how many carp had the teams weighed in?
We were on 129 with the last weigh-in. That was more or less halfway through the game. So another 30 hours to go. So yes, it's a 72-hour tournament and really long. Last night was extremely cold. But yeah, we're looking forward to a hotter night tonight and plenty of fish, yeah.
We are about 47 kgs.
As emphasized earlier, so much depends on planning and strategy. So what did Loki think was the best strategy for he and Robert to win the competition?
Basically bait presentation, we're fishing really small baits. We're only starting to upsize with the baits now, but when it was difficult we used really small baits. And then accuracy on the feeding, we really put attention to that, to keep the feeding spots as tight as possible. And I also think we downscaled on the solid particles, lots of fine feed, which for this time of the year is better. They don't want the solid particles, and the solid particles that we are putting in is very soft. You know, the maize is cooked until it's burst open, and then lots of cooked peanuts and small tiger nuts. So I think that makes the difference.
Well, actually we're using a devil's fork pit with a yellow sponge, and on the sake we have parabay and devil's fork. This was one of the best ones that we had. Delivered a lot of fish.
And what did Loki think he and Robert would need to catch to win the SA Open title?
I think to win the tournament we will need to catch at least 400 kilos. Normally the last night is, we fish right through the night. In 72 hours we only sleep 8 hours, and then it's fishing. So no sleep for us tonight. Long haul, but we're aiming to hit 400 kilos.
At the end of it all, the anglers gathered indoors and in more formal gear to attend the post-event prize giving. Abrams and Prinsloo combined weight catch of 204.65 kilograms earned them 4th place. Jan Tolmay and Andre Fourie were 3rd with a catch of 239.53 kilograms. They were fishing in the B zone of the competition area. Father and son pair, the Lawrences, Dirk and Dirk Jr., were second. And with a catch of 316.21 kilos, the winners were Robert Kotze and Loki Lois. After such a successful couple of days on the banks of the beautiful Bloemhof Dam, would Jason Prinsloo be back from the Eastern Cape to compete at the SA Open Carp Championships once more?
Absolutely. I think I'm going to bring more blankets and heaters though, but yeah, I'll definitely be back.